Having damage to your property, it isn't funny. Alconero and Associates, Public Adjusters, they'll get your money. Just call them 855-64-CLAIM. 855-64-CLAIM. Just call 855-64-CLAIM. Call it now. 855-64-CLAIM.
If you own property here in Florida, you already know insurance isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely essential. But what happens when you do everything right, you file a claim, and it gets denied? Worse, they say it's your fault? Okay, let's get right into this because it's a huge and frustrating problem for so many people. So, you get that dreaded letter and you see the word negligence. It feels like a total slap in the face, right? The insurance company is basically pointing the finger at you, saying you caused the damage. But what does negligence actually mean when it comes to your insurance policy? Well, I can tell you right now, it's almost certainly not what you think. I mean, can you imagine? You've just been through a hurricane, or a major pipe burst, or a fire. You're stressed, your home is a mess, and then this letter arrives. It's a real gut punch. You've been paying those premiums month after month, year after year, and in your moment of need, you're told you failed. It's just crushing. All right, so let's clear this up because this is the big trap. The word negligence that they're using in that denial letter, it is not the same negligence you hear about on TV in some personal injury lawsuit. This is probably the single biggest misunderstanding out there, and frankly, insurers count on that confusion. Okay, check this out. On the left, you've got lawsuits. In Florida, that's all about comparative fault, where a court can say, okay, you were 20% at fault, so you get 80% of the money. But your property insurance, that's a contract. It's a totally different world. It's not about sharing blame. It's about one simple question. Did you violate one of the duties laid out in your policy? So the fight isn't over some fuzzy idea of fault, it's about the fine print. And that fine print leads us straight to the real bad guy in this story, the policy exclusion. This is the real battleground. An insurer denies your claim by finding an exclusion in your contract and arguing that something you did or didn't do triggered it, which lets them off the hook for paying. So how exactly do they do this in the real world? Well, insurers have a playbook, and it's pretty consistent. They have a few go-to arguments they use to try and link your supposed negligence to one of those policy exclusions. Let's pull back the curtain and break down their 4 most common tactics. Number 1, the classic wear and tear. This is their favorite. They'll send an adjuster out, he'll take a picture of a little bit of rust on a pipe or some old shingles on the roof and say, see, this wasn't a sudden storm, this was just years of neglect. But here's what you need to know. Florida law has something called the concurrent cause doctrine. It basically says that if a covered event, like a hurricane, and a pre-existing issue, like an old roof, both contribute to the damage, the insurer can't just walk away. They have to prove the damage was only because of neglect. Next up, late notice. Your policy definitely says you need to report damage promptly. So if you wait a few months, they're going to argue that you messed up their ability to investigate. But, and this is a big but, in Florida, they usually can't deny your claim just because you were late. They have to prove they were actually prejudiced by it. In other words, they have to show that your delay truly made it impossible for them to figure out what happened. Okay, number 3, faulty workmanship. Let's be clear, your insurance policy is not a warranty for a bad contractor. If you hired someone who did a terrible job repairing your roof and it causes a huge leak, the insurer will point to an exclusion for bad construction. But you've got to look for an ensuing loss provision. This is huge. It might mean that while they won't pay to fix the shoddy roof repair itself, they do have to cover all the subsequent damage, like your ruined drywall, floors, and furniture. And finally, failure to mitigate. This one's all about what you do right after the damage happens. You have a duty to take reasonable steps to stop things from getting worse. A tree branch breaks a window, you board it up. A pipe bursts, you shut off the main water valve. If you don't, and the damage gets way worse over the next few weeks, well, the insurer can argue they're not responsible for that extra damage you could have prevented. So when an insurance company decides to go down one of these paths, they don't just send you a nasty letter and call it a day. No. They meticulously and methodically build a case against you. And understanding how they do it is the first step to fighting back. And here it is laid out step by step. This is their game plan. First, they'll find the exact wording in your policy they want to use against you. Then they send in their experts, inspectors, engineers, to find the evidence that backs it up. They will take dozens of photos of any rust, rot, or old repairs they can find. They might even ask for your maintenance records to try and prove you've been slacking. And finally, they'll create a timeline designed to show that you either waited too long to call them or did nothing to stop the bleeding. I know, hearing all that can feel, well, pretty daunting. It sounds like they have all the power. But this is the moment where we flip the script. This is where you take back control. Because now that you've seen their playbook, we can talk about the single most effective strategy you can possibly have: a proactive defense. One that starts long before a storm cloud ever appears on the horizon. And if you take away just one thing from all this, please let it be this: the best, strongest, most bulletproof defense against a negligence denial is built before you ever need it. It's all about having a crystal clear record of your property's condition and knowing your policy inside and out. You leave them no room for argument. So you might be asking, how do I do that? Well, one great option for Florida homeowners is something like the Early Damage Detection Program from Alconero Public Adjuster. The whole idea is to get ahead of the problem. It's a totally free service where they provide an annual professional inspection to spot those hidden issues you'd never see, and they do a full review of your policy with you. Taking a step like this creates that all-important record of your property's condition, giving you powerful proof to shut down any future claims of wear and tear or neglect. Look, at the end of the day, your insurance should be your safety net, not your opponent in a fight. By being proactive, by documenting your property's health, and really understanding your policy, you put yourself in the driver's seat. You get real peace of mind, knowing that if disaster strikes, your policy will be there to do what it's supposed to do. Thanks so much for watching.
855-64-CLAIM. Call it now. 855-64-CLAIM.